Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Voices of Forestry podcast. I'm your host, Seth Stephenson, the communications coordinator for the Arkansas Forestry Association. And we're back this month with a new topic and a new Voice of Forestry. This month, we're going to tackle the topic of reforestation. So we're going to create a nice little base layer of knowledge for you guys on what that means, what that's doing out in our lands today. And today, I'm actually joined by Jeff Cravey with IFCO Seedlings. He's the Western Gulf Genetic Investment Advisor. Jeff, thank you for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I know you do a lot of traveling, so we really appreciate you stopping by and helping us out talking about reforestation.
It's great. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, as always, I kind of gave you a brief heads up before we started today, but as always, we like to get a little bit of background history on our guests. So if you could, tell us your history in the business.
Sure. I started my career in Georgia. I graduated from Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, and I started working for the state of Georgia in a seedling orchard, and I moved about 6 months later to F&W Forestry Services, where I was a consulting forester, and I worked with them 29 years before I resigned and started working for IFCO Seedlings as the Western Gulf Genetic Investment Advisor, and I've been with them 6 years now.
Wow, okay. And like I said, you kind of travel all over the South. You said you work in Louisiana and Texas primarily, is that right?
Yeah, I sell out of Mississippi and Louisiana. So there's two nurseries that I sell out of majority, and then the eastern guys take over from there, but yes, sir.
Okay, because I know when we talked on the phone, you were, I think, driving through Mississippi or something like that.
Yeah, I was in a meeting in Mississippi, and I was with our Shibuda nursery, and I was that's what I was doing. So I basically sell from Mississippi to Texas to Missouri.
Okay. Hey everyone, Future Seth here. I wanted to hop into the episode real quick to give a special shout out and thank you to our sponsor this month, Davis DuBose Knight Forestry and Real Estate. We really appreciate their support on this month's episode, and you're going to hear a little bit more from them later on in the show. But for now, let's hop back into our conversation with Jeff about reforestation. Jeff, I guess we need to start with a base, probably a dumb question, but what exactly are we talking about when we say reforestation?
Well, basically, when we say reforestation, we're looking at a piece of property that's a renewal cut. A renewal cut is one that's been totally harvested, and you're looking at reforestation process. And there's many ways to do that. Seedlings is one way to go, and of course, natural would be the other. But I guess we'll talk about seedlings today.
Okay, awesome. And I know a lot of folks have probably seen the clear cut area with the stumps,
we like to call it a renewal cut.
There we go, renewal cut.
It's a working process. A renewal cut is a better process than calling it a clear cut, because that comes to a conclusion. That's really not what we do in the South. We renew the forest every time we cut it. So
and that's kind of one of the things that we're trying to do with this show is teach people and maybe change their minds a little bit. Instead of calling it a clear cut, it's a renewal cut.
It's sustainable.
There you go. Yeah, it's sustainable.
That's what we want to do.
A big word that we love here in the forestry industry is sustainability, and trying to get people to know that even though it's empty right now, that's not going to be the case.
That's not the end of it.
Yeah,
A clear cut would mean that there's something bad happened to it. No, this was planned. This was part of the process.
So I guess let's kind of, if you could, why is reforestation a part of the management process? I know this kind of falls back to the sustainability side of everything.
Well, it comes down to money too. It's been proven that replanting would grow faster for everything that's going on, and when you have a return on investment is basically what you're looking at, and seedlings are the best way to go with that. If you do a good site preparation on your property, you select the right type of seedling for your area, and then you let it grow, and of course you thin it, and then you look at another renewal cut.
So when a landowner or a company gets to that spot, I guess they go to someone like yourself to kind of talk about, okay, what's the next step to getting this back to where it was?
They can, or they talk to a consultant. Either way, we sell a lot of trees to consultants, so that's a great way to go. Or they can come to us. We're really not in that process. We do the growing of the trees and put it, like a large company like Arkansas, like Green Bay, they would come to us. They would ask our ideas of what could do better for us, what genetics to pick on their property, so they can pick up their process. And picking the right genetics on a property is the right way to go.
And there's a whole lot. I've quickly learned that there's a whole lot behind picking the right tree. You're talking about genetics. I never thought that would even be a factor before I started working here.
Right. We graft our trees, our pine trees, just like an apple orchard would select the right apple on their property. We select the right pine seedling for the North Arkansas area, central, southern, into Texas and South Texas and Louisiana and all those parishes. And in Mississippi's kind of unique because they can take an eastern tree from the North Carolina State Co-op, or they can take a western tree from Texas A&M. So you got a lot of throws. I think Mississippi was actually in the co-op with Western Gulf, and then they got out. And now the state of Mississippi's not doing anything in improving their process, but maybe they'll come back one day.
Hopefully. Well, let's kind of talk about, we and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but what are some of the different ways that people can implement, landowners or even corporations implement the reforestation process on their property?
Call a consultant and do a turnkey process with them. Call a large, there's companies out there like Acorn Outdoor Services, Superior Forestry that do turnkey processes. Consultants work with them also. They can call us, or they can do the process by themselves with cost shares and stuff like that.
You know, in most of the episodes that we've done, we've kind of jumped around the whole process a little bit. You know, starting with management plans and consulting foresters, and now to the reforestation process. So we're trying to paint a broad picture of what that process looks like and all the different avenues folks can take.
Right. Well, if they decide to pick a consultant, they'd meet on the property. They'd talk about what type of better word, lack of word, chemical needs that they would use on their property. Because if nothing was done to it, a lot of things would sprout up. And in order to get a clear cut or a renewal cut for the trees to get all the nutrients and all the moisture on the property, you need to get rid of what's there. And it creates a hard, hot burn that the world would do, how pines would be a first succession species, and it creates that process. And then we put the pine trees out there like it would do naturally. That's basically the start of it. Or some people would do other ways of doing it, like leave a few trees and let it seed in. That process is a slower process, and you really lose about 10 years on that process, where the seedling process you don't lose any years whatsoever. And if you don't value your time, a natural seeding would be fine. But if you value your time of money, then seedlings are the way to go.
So with seedlings, because this is your specialty, I know you mentioned on the phone to me that there are a couple of different types, and correct me if I'm wrong here. There's the container and bare root, correct?
Right. We grow both bare root and container. Most people will do one or the other. There's two companies that you can get, ours and another person that does bare root and container. So the container would be like, it has a pod of soil around the soil, and the roots are protected the whole time, and it's pretty proof. If you machine plant a container tree, you're looking at almost bulletproof. Bare root is a tree that's just straight out of the ground and put in a bag or a box, and you can do that really well with machine planting. It's a little bit more difficult to hand plant, and that's one of the processes that you want to talk about. Hand planting versus machine planting. Machine planting, you'll usually get better survival. With hand planting, if you're behind them, you can get a lot of good survivals, but you have to know what you're doing and make sure that they're planting them correctly, not J-rooting, not L-rooting. A machine will dig the trench deep enough where it won't do that.
So there's the hand planting is a little more of an involved process to make sure things are surviving and growing the way that they should. It
should be more of a management process. You should be behind him, making sure, because every time he reaches into that bag, he's looking at your 25-year investment. If you think of it that way, you've got 10 guys out there, and each one of them is, every time he reaches in his bag, he's putting your future out there, and you really need to be behind him on that, managing that process. If you're not, well, that's not good.
It's just like throwing items on a shelf and hoping that they don't break almost.
You're trusting 10 guys from another country with your investment. You just got a lot of, you just clear cut your own property, and you're spending a lot of time, effort, and money, and you're not managing them. It's not a good process.
Gotcha. So with you guys, with IFCO, do you see, I guess, is container more popular with you guys, or is it bare root? What's the go-to?
We did the bare root. Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
We were a container company for a long time, and then we decided to be a bare root company because Weyerhaeuser decided to sell 5 nurseries. Well, being capitally strong as a company, our owner said, and we're only owned by 2 people, 2 people in South, Patrick Mobley and Preston Mobley, and they decided to buy all 5 nurseries. So we did that, and we went into the bare root market pretty hot. So we honestly don't care which tree you choose. We put the genetics in what bound you like, a container or bare root. Okay. It's not us to make that decision for you. We'll give you the cost. Of course, the cost is cheaper with the bare root because you have more processes in the dirt and growing the container. And we grow. We have, like, just say Evans, Louisiana. We have 12 pivots, and we grow 4.2 million trees under each circular pivot. Wow. That would be like a circle crop, like a corn crop that you guys see out in Arkansas, or I don't know if Arkansas has it or not, but definitely Iowa and Nebraska, you'll have it watering it, and it's a technology from Georgia where there's a lot of farming in Moultrie's where our corporate office is, and he took the pivot system as a tray, and we have our trays at 4.5 feet, so no one's bending over to do this process, and it's really good on the workers, and it's easy on growing it. But that's basically it for the containers, how we grow it. But
you brought up something that I guess people need to realize is when they do go to start this reforestation process, they do probably need to have an idea of which that they want, either the container or the bare root, right?
Or they can make that decision during. I don't run. It's good to get a consultant for that, so they can run for their property, know what kind of dirt they have, and have a plan to see what they can spend on it. As if you had a clear cut that didn't yield a lot of money, you don't have that luxury of buying a container and machine plant it, but you might have to hand plant it and cut costs there. It really just depends on what your internal rate of return is going to be at the end, and consultants do a really good job of showing what you can earn from the soil that you have, and not all soils are equal, as we all know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jeff, I tell you what, let's kind of take a quick break right here. We're going to hear a little bit more. We're going to take a sponsor break. DDK proudly supports the AFA. In 1962, Mr. Jerry Davis started DDK with a core value of wanting to help forest landowners. With the professional services that DDK provides, they allow landowners to have complete confidence in their portfolio, knowing that their property is managed at the highest level from an expert team with years of experience. Give Davis DuBose Knight Forestry and Real Estate a call today and let them help you begin your land legacy. 501-219-8600 or visit them at forestryrealestate.com. So, Jeff, we're on the tail end of our conversation here. Sure. There's a couple other things that I want to talk about before we wrap up. But on average, I guess, how long does a reforestation process take? And I guess this depends, too, on if you're doing machine or hand, right?
As far as the process, you mean like the process from when they decide to plant to the seedling going out, or the process from the seedling going out to the next renewal cut?
From them deciding to the seedling going out.
Okay, you're looking at it. There's 2 things to really pay attention to. If you have a harvest late summer, there's a little weevil that might cause you a little problem, like a Paley's weevil. If you clear cut and then you plant right behind it, like 2 months behind it, say you're planting in November or December, these Paley weevils could come out and eat your little seedlings and girdle. It's a Paley's weevil. You can look it up. It's not good that you put out seedlings that quick behind a clear cut, or you may get away with it, and you just don't want to do that. You can treat a container with PTM, pine tip moth treatment, and it will give you a 2-year window of no pine tip moth and no Paley's weevils, but that's an expensive process with a chemical into the plug, and you will get protected. But you just have to watch what can get you in the springtime once things warm up. So you don't really want to plant right behind a clear cut. If you have a 6-month window, then you're looking at that. But if you clear cut, like say December, January, or February, and you had 12-month ground, 12-month ground meaning operability, it's not wet. You can operate a skidder, a cutter, and harvest it any time of the year, and you got your really good return. You're looking at probably spraying in the summer, late summer for site prep, and then burning it possibly if you have a plate location that can burn it to clean it all off and get to the bare mineral soil where the seedlings can do really well. Burning's optional, of course. If you have a rocky site in Arkansas, you may have to rip it and not do your chemical till later. It just depends on your property. And then that fall, you can start planting a container tree in September. If you have soil moisture, even into October, and then all the way till March or April. With a bare root, you're looking at a December window to a January window, February, and you can squeeze it onto March, but you're taking a risk with the bare root.
Okay.
So you're looking at a year's process basically from when your renewal to at best case scenario.
And then once you've got trees in the ground, I guess specifically with the product that you guys have, from trees in the ground to ready to cut, how long does that usually take?
Of course, if you did your spacing, and we can debate spacing forever, and everybody loves to debate spacing. I'm not going to get into that topic today. It's whatever you guys decide to do, and I'll give you the benefits or the positives and the negatives. If you go to low density, though, you really need to watch your genetics, because not all trees will grow up. They'll tend to grow out and get lazy and get really limby, and then you're stuck with pulpwood forever, which is depending on where you are in Arkansas, you can't get rid of it. To $5-10 in some places in Arkansas, you can't even get rid of it now. So you're looking at basically a first thin, which is 12 to 15. Some places, if you have a really good dirt, 11 years old, you can thin. And I think the bell curve, the classic bell curve forestry growth would be year 25 is when you'd want to do another renewal cut.
Okay. And I'm asking all of this just to give folks who maybe aren't even a part of the forestry industry that may be listening to this an idea of how long this process is. Because it's not, trees aren't like rice or corn that they just pop up every year. It takes a while.
It's not every year. It's you're looking at 2 cuts or 3 cuts, and depending on what your program is.
Yeah, and so hopefully people, they see that renewal cut space and don't instantly panic. Patience is key here to
it's
a
long-term process, and that's why I highly recommend you be behind a hand planter when you're there, because you're sitting, your whole 25-year process is every time he reaches in that bag, every time he opens a hole in your ground and then packs it. I mean, it's just hard to fathom that you're not behind him, and making sure he does a really good job.
And I know we've heard folks talk about here in Arkansas the issues that they've had with the pulpwood that they've grown. Like you said, they just can't get rid of it, or it's not worth anything. So again, going back to what you said earlier in the episode, making sure that your investment, your 25-year investment, is planted right, so it grows how you want it to grow, so you can sell it how you want to sell it in the future, is a big part of this whole process.
Right. And if you go say, I'm just going to skip the pulpwood process, well, you got to really watch your genetics. You just have to. And I'm not sure you can get away with you'll probably do 1 thin, but you'll get a little bit of chip and saw in that first thin, which might bring some people there. And then you'll wait another 7-8 years to clear cut it.
Gotcha.
Or renewal cut it.
So let me ask you this, and I know we mentioned that you kind of work primarily in Mississippi and Louisiana, and some here in Arkansas, but not a whole lot. But do you know how many trees are replanted, I guess, just in the South each year?
In the South, it's over 1 billion.
Okay.
Wow. There's different companies. Weyerhaeuser plants a lot of trees in Arkansas. Green Bay plants a lot of trees, a client of ours. A lot of southern consultants plant our trees down here. Charles Pirtle, really well-known Arkansas guy, he planted some of the best genetics this year on his property, and he did a renewal cut this year on his property, and I'm hoping really good things from his property. And so we do a lot more in Arkansas than we realize, but
yeah. I mean, I guess I was just hoping to get that number, of how many in the South are planted.
Yeah,
about
$1 billion, and we at our company we do $290 million.
Wow,
that's between container and bare root.
Now, and let me ask you this: are 1 billion trees being cut each year too, or do you know that?
Well, the space for 1 billion trees is being cut.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think if 1 billion trees were cut, then obviously it would be more property than that, because you're looking at 100 trees to 150 trees per acre on a renewal cut, where we replant anywhere from, I'm just going to say the old-fashioned way, is 726 an acre to 350 an acre, depending on what regime you put down. So, So we put more trees back than we harvest, 99% of the time. So there's no tree shortage in the world in the South, because we're a renewable resource, especially in the South. We're not taking old growth, anything going on. So a pine plantation is probably on its third, fourth generation. It's not anything that hasn't been done to that property before.
And again, that's another thing that we kind of harp on or want people to understand is, specifically in the South, and I'm sure this is the case in other parts of the country, but specifically in the South, we're not just taking the trees out of the ground and just leaving it. This is a renewal. We're doing renewal cuts,
and there's different goals for people to harvest. Also, we have a long line of longleaf. We're the largest southern longleaf provider in the South, and longleaf is getting headway across the South, trying to renew its area, and we're a big part of doing that. So landowners that want quail or sunlight and they can burn every other year, they have different goals than just growing timber. They want to grow wildlife. So longleaf is an option. Up here in Arkansas, there's some part of the Ouachitas where people want shortleaf, and we're the world largest producer of shortleaf. It just sounds big, but it's really not a big deal. But we produce the most shortleaf, and we sell the most shortleaf, which a shortleaf can take a fire up in the Ouachitas, and it's made for that. So if you're looking at wildlife, that's a process we do for each owner. We'd like to cater to the owner. We're not just timber mongers who throw out loblolly and grow it. We listen to our customers, and we want what they want, and we try to sell them what they need to provide their goals.
So again, I guess let me ask this just to make sure it's crystal clear here, Jeff, before we start wrapping up. If there is someone out there who has questions, do they need to start with a consultant, or can they give IFCO a call?
Oh yeah, they can call us, or they can consult with a consultant. There's people we work with and we'd recommend, and a consultant is an excellent way to go, no matter what you do. When if you're a savvy business owner, most people have consultants that they use, and they had that consultant for that clear or that renewal cut, and it was a planned process, and they made sure that everything went well on the harvest. If they don't, and they just wound up doing it themselves, and they're going to do it themselves, then they can call us and we can help them with the process. I do that with a lot of landowners.
Okay. Yeah, and again, we make sure people are aware that there are people like yourself, like consultants out there that are willing to help. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call, or shoot an email. Just if you have a question, ask it.
I had a call this morning, and a guy was doing 33 acres, and he's doing it all by himself. So he's in Texas. He just picked up a planter, and now the planter's trying to get the trees today. Well, I rode his trees yesterday. It's not going to happen today. He's trying to get in the gate today. That's why you really want stuff to happen in a process. And he luckily got a planter. He luckily got the trees yesterday, because I generally don't have that many trees by this time for a cut in it. But I haven't seen his property. I don't know what it's going to look like when he's finished. But he is machine planting, so I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, good luck to him. Good luck to him.
Because he's winging it.
Yeah.
And that's not a good process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but it might be. I don't know the man.
Yeah.
I'm talking to him on the phone for 30 minutes.
Yeah. But, there are people, if you aren't as confident as this gentleman sounds as he is, reach out to somebody.
Yeah,
ask questions.
Consultants, people in the industry will help you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Foresters are really nice guys. 99% of them are great guys, and they want to talk about trees. They want to do what's right on the property. If you listen to anybody, they'll help you out. And
there are people out there who are in this business because they love the land and they want to see it flourish, and they want to see, forests come back after a renewal cut.
That's right.
They love the land, and so they're there to help.
That's right, and that's all we really care about talking about. My kids get sick of me talking about it. My son told me to say Lindodendron tulipifera because that's his favorite word, which is yellow poplar. But he wanted me to say that, so I just got that out there.
There we go. There you go. Well, Jeff, is there anything else that you want to add or anything you want to say before we start wrapping up here?
No, there's a lot of good companies, a lot of good consultants out there, and it's a great process. It's a great industry. We're lucky to be part of this process, and I look forward to another 20 years doing this. This is a great, fun time to do.
All right. Well, Jeff, I appreciate you coming down and talking with me today. Thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us here at the Arkansas Forestry Association. You can find our contact info on our website at arkforest.org. That's ARKFORESTS.org. And we want to give one more special shout out to our sponsor this month, Davis DuBose Knight Forestry and Real Estate. We really appreciate them and their support of the show. We also want to give a special shout out to Rob McCormick / some guy named Rob for the use of our theme song, The Same Love. That's off of his album, The Folkster. You can find a link to his website and on the description of this episode, and you can find more of his music on Spotify. Well, we'll be back next month with a new topic, a new discussion, and a new Voice of Forestry.